Hey! Welcome back, dear viewers. Today we're talking about selling miniatures. I see a lot of people selling their painted miniatures for incredibly low prices. Perhaps it's a phenomenon that is more drastic in Finland, but it's definitely something that happens all over the world. I think this is a shame for three main reasons. It's such a waste of people's hard work, people end up losing miniatures that they might want to use later on, and it's a huge waste of money. I know that this video isn't going to change how the whole system works. I also don't mean to shame or blame anyone. People are free to do what they want. But if people think about the low prices a little more critically, and if I manage to reduce the chance of someone selling their finished miniatures even by little, I think we'll be in a better world. So let's look at the first reason why I think selling your painted miniatures is a bad idea. It's a huge waste of your time and effort. Gluing, converting, and painting your miniatures takes a lot of time. Even if we manage to be insanely fast like some YouTubers out there, still at least 24 hours of intense work even for them. And let's be realistic, for most of us, finishing a small skirmish force, not to mention a full army, takes weeks or even months. For some, like myself, it's actually fun hobby time, but for many it's something that feels like actual work. There's a reason why there are so many videos that inform how one might enjoy the painting process a little more. I probably should make a video about it as well. Either way, everyone has huge piles of shame. It requires the discipline of a monk to constantly keep up with painting. So, once you actually manage to finish a unit or two, or even your whole force, it's an accomplishment on par with running a marathon. And the idea to take that and just sell them to someone else who might not even appreciate our hard work and just wipe off all of the paint and is a small tragedy in my opinion. Imagine working out for months until you have the perfect body, and then just selling it off and becoming fat again. I believe that it's important for us to respect our own hard work and not just sell it off for a price that is in most cases smaller than what we paid originally. And in a crucial way, we lose pretty much everything when we sell the miniatures. Sure, we probably learn some new painting skills along the way, but for most of us, painting miniatures is not about the journey. It's about the destination of having a finished miniature that we can proudly display and enjoy gaming with. But I hear what some of you are probably saying now. You no longer have any interest in that particular force or in the hobby whatsoever. And for those people, I give my second argument. It's very likely that you will end up wanting to use those models in some form again. I believe that most of us go through a hobby hiatus at some point. Perhaps we lose our gaming group, or we become intensely busy for a time. Maybe there's a bad edition, or any other good reason to take a break. Sometimes we can just lose interest completely. In my previous video, I talked about Games Workshop killing Fantasy Warhammer and me losing all will to play with my dwarf army. But as I mentioned in that video, I'm extremely happy that I never sold off my dwarves, because I found a new game where I want to use those miniatures. After 10 years. So they've been stored for 10 freaking years. Fortunately, they're miniatures, not bigatures. And they don't take up so much space. I believe that it's a very good idea to save your finished miniatures until a time that you want to use them again. You might always find new people to play with, find more time, or your excitement suddenly returns. And as I mentioned in my previous video, you might find a place for your old army in a brand new game. And even if you never return back to your miniatures, perhaps it's something that your kids or your nephews and nieces might appreciate one day. We save all kinds of crap that we don't truly need anymore. So I would argue that saving your miniatures should be at the very top of your list of things to keep around, because how much time and effort you've sunk into them. But I hear another crowd having an issue with my suggestion. The people who urgently need the money, or even if they don't, those who still prefer to get some money now instead of storing the miniatures for no reason, in their view. And with that, we come to my last point. It's a huge waste of money to sell off your painted miniatures. Sorry, but it's unlikely that you'll actually make money by selling your models. Unless you own extremely old, out-of-production miniatures that have a high value in themselves, or you're a painting god, it's very likely that you will be getting less money for your painted miniatures than what you originally paid for them when they were new. If you're lucky, you'll break even, especially when you take into account the money that you used for the glue, flock, paints, and brushes. I dare to say that you'll be making quite a loss. So, while you will get some money back, it's pennies on the dollar. So I encourage you to keep your models instead and try to get the money somewhere else. I understand that not everyone has this luxury, and in those exceptions when it's life or death, yes, sell the miniatures, they're just things. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the prices of painted miniatures, especially in Finland, are ridiculously low, and I imagine that's the case where you live as well. Please do comment though if there is such a wonderful place where people actually appreciate hard work. I understand that if you've glued your miniature with a liter of glue and you have 50 layers of hot pink and neon green all over your miniatures, it's not reasonable to expect a lot of money. But I have a problem when a person has painted their force to a tabletop standard and people want to pay less for them than for new unassembled models. And in my case, I actually tried to sell a few well-painted Blood Bowl teams for a slightly higher price than retail and got no responses. I think that's just odd. And yes, I know what you're saying. I've tried to sell my miniatures as well. In this one case, I felt it was fine because the time invested in painting a team is small and I couldn't fit all of my teams in my room anymore and I wanted to get room for some new teams. But to get back to my point, I don't like this expectation that nearly all of the time painted miniatures are worth less than unassembled ones. I believe that people should not sell their models for such low prices and the buyers should not expect such low prices either. Just gluing and cleaning the mold lines alone is a huge amount of work. So even if you end up stripping the paint, you've still gained something compared to just buying a brand new package. And in addition to that, I believe that most of the time, stripping the paint is not even necessary. There's a lot that you can use in the previous painting job, even if the painter wasn't very good. You can just continue from where they left off. There's a good video on this topic on YouTube. Imagine how much people pay for commission painters to paint their minis. I know about this since I do commission painting myself. I'm no Bill Gates, but when you consider how many miniatures need to be painted for an army, the bill is not very small. And that painting bill comes on top of the miniature prices themselves. So, I don't understand the logic of the world we live in, where people pay hundreds of euros to get their miniatures painted to a tabletop standard by a commission painter, but refuse to pay retail prices for tabletop painted second-hand miniatures. The ability to choose the colors yourself should not be worth that much. So, I implore you to ideally stop selling your finished miniatures, and if you have to sell your miniatures, don't sell them so cheaply. Respect the hard work you've put into your models. And buyers, please understand that painting miniatures adds value to them, not the other way around. Thank you very much for watching my video. I hope that this gave you a good answer to the original question of whether you should sell your painted miniatures or not. I'm very interested to hear what you think about this topic, and if I made you think in a new way. Stay tuned for more videos and visit my website lumiokimini.com to see my work and perhaps respect my painting to the degree where you want to order a commission from me. I've got plenty of space for new customers. So, see you next time.